Well, hello everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the 5 residency mistakes we see when people are moving here to Albania and what you can do to avoid them. We talk to a lot of people every single week, and we hear the same mistakes happening over and over again.
It's so common. Like everybody relies on things like Facebook groups and ChatGPT, or they want to do it themselves.
Or they even think that they can bribe the border agent. No way.
Oh, it's sometimes possible. But if things go wrong, they usually really go wrong. And it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. You can pay an immigration attorney a few hundred euros in most scenarios, and they're going to do everything for you. There's a lot of misinformation on the internet, though, about how to go about this, what you need to do. People think it's easier than sometimes it is. And look, if you're fluent in Albanian, you might be able to do this yourself. But if you're not and you run into any sort of problem, you're going to have to pay an immigration attorney to help you unwind the mess that you made. So it might be wise just to do that from the beginning. All right, before we get into it, please subscribe, please like, follow us on our socials. It really helps us a lot. And we're going to keep bringing you great information every week.
All right, so let's get started with mistake number 1. And that is thinking that you can somehow circumvent the process by either paying a bribe to the border agent or to the immigration agent.
This happens in a number of ways. I just spoke to somebody last week that was like, "Oh, I did it myself. I took a bottle of alcohol to the office, and all is well. You don't need to pay anybody." And then a few days later, I ran into the same person, and they were like, "Everything's a catastrophe. I have to do all of this paperwork again. It's a mess. I don't know what happened." Well, I can tell you what happened. You took a bottle of alcohol to somebody and thought they were going to do it all for you and do it correctly. It's not worth it. It doesn't make any sense. It's a few hundred euros to pay somebody to do this from the beginning. I think another one, we know somebody that just paid a friend and a border agent to do border runs with her passport.
Yeah, so essentially what this is, if you're an American here, as we've told you, and you have the 12-month visa-free stay, you need to leave for 90 days and then come back to reset your 12-month visa-free. What this individual was doing was simply bribing or paying a friend or border agent to have her stamped in and stamped out of Albania. And this is really dangerous. Albania is developing a zero-tolerance culture for corruption. If you are found to be doing this type of activity or engaging in this type of activity, not only are you not going to be able to continue living here, you're not going to be able to apply for residency again. You might even face criminal prosecution. So it's definitely not a good approach to take, even though it might be more convenient than applying for residency. In the end, it's not even that much cheaper to go that route.
It's not cheaper. It's not cheaper.
Just don't put yourself in a scenario where you're taking unnecessary risk by doing unethical or illegal things.
They make the process simple. You need to follow the process. You need to use someone that knows the process. But Albania makes this easy enough that if you're trying to do it in an honest way, you're going to get residency. There's no need to try and save 100 euros. It makes no sense. I think the next one that I've seen a lot recently that honestly just blows my mind is ChatGPT.
Oh, ChatGPT. You can't trust it.
Somebody posted in one of the Facebook groups a couple of weeks ago, "I used ChatGPT to apply for my residency in Albania. It got rejected, and I need to leave the country in 3 days. I need urgent help." Well, not only was using ChatGPT a bad idea because it's not always accurate, it's relying on sources across the internet that are generally outdated.
Or English language.
Or English language. The laws here change frequently. English is not the primary language that government documents and laws are put out in. So you have no idea what information you're being given. So this person, they used ChatGPT, they did the application themselves, it obviously went wrong, and then they turned to a Facebook group to get support to try and fix it. And what that led to was tons of expats giving them conflicting information about what they needed to do to sort out the problem, when they only had 3 days before they needed to leave the country. I think from my following of the post, they ended up hiring an immigration attorney to help them sort this out. But again, that's going to cost more than hiring an immigration attorney from the beginning that doesn't have to unwind a mess.
Exactly. If you are in a scenario like this where your application is denied, you're asked to leave the country, and you only have 3 days, you really have a few options. You can either make an emergency trip to another country while you try and sort this out, or you can break the law and stay. But both of those scenarios are going to cost you more. And if you break the law and try and stay, there is a very, very low likelihood that you are going to be given another opportunity to apply or make it work here.
At a minimum, you're going to be fined. So it's not worth it. It's really not worth it.
The next thing that we see a lot are people who, they don't use ChatGPT. They're not going to do anything unethically. They know what they don't know and that they need to hire someone. But the mistake that they make is they hire a non-lawyer, a facilitator, someone offering the service that like, hey, we'll help you apply for your residency permit, who aren't lawyers and who really don't have the expertise they need to guide you.
If you walk around in any city in Albania, you will see offices that sell immigration support, essentially. Some of these offices do employ lawyers, but this is something you need to be very clear about when you're engaging any sort of service like this, or when you're engaging a service online. There are Facebook groups, for instance, that do offer immigration support, immigration services, but when you really start asking questions, it's not an attorney that is helping you. It is, most of the time, an expat or an Albanian person that is familiar with e-Albania and some of the systems necessary to do this. And there are kind of two problems here. They will help you fill out the application, but they tell you where to go and what to do. They give you a bunch of instructions that you have to go do on your own. Or they...
Sorry guys, the weather is getting the best of us. We gotta make a slight adjustment here.
So the other challenge that people run into with facilitators is they may help you fill out the application. They may tell you where to go and what to do. But if anything goes wrong, they're not an immigration attorney. You're going to be in the same boat where you don't really have the support that you need. So you end up looking for additional resources to help you get this done. A lot of the time, the price of a facilitator is the same or sometimes even higher than an immigration attorney. This is something when we first started shopping for residency support, we didn't fully understand. We met with a couple facilitators. You will find everyone in Albania wants to refer you to their friend, someone they know, someone that helped them. And look, that's how the economy here runs. That's how things work. But you need to remember to do your due diligence. You need to make sure that you understand who you are working with, the support that they offer. Ask very clearly, are you a licensed attorney? And also ask for references. If someone's unwilling to give you these things or they get cagey about this, keep shopping.
There are better options out there. You need to have someone that you really trust because this is a really important process. If you don't get approved or you don't do it correctly, you're not going to be able to make a new life here.
I think what stood out to me initially when we were shopping and when we were trying to find the right provider to help us do this, we met with a couple facilitators and we got kind of a laundry list of, well, you need this, you need to go do this, you need to go to this office before we get started. Then we were introduced to an immigration attorney, and we were explained the difference. And the immigration attorney took us to a notary office, had us sign a power of attorney that said that he could, on our behalf, apply for a residency. And then he took care of everything. He reached out to us when he needed a specific document, a question answered, and he made it very, very straightforward and simple. And the price was the same as an unlicensed facilitator.
Absolutely. The other challenge with facilitators is that you end up spending a lot of money on essentially what is their marketing. We've seen some of these immigration packages that aren't just telling you to apply for your residency permit. It's, we'll meet you at the airport, we'll take you to a spa, we'll help you find an apartment, using one of our landlords. And really what you're doing is you're giving them money in order for them to make more money by referring you to their service providers.
Yeah, there are a lot of Facebook groups that do this. They present themselves as expat communities or expat support, in reality, they're lead generation funnels for businesses. Some of these even will allow misinformation to sort of run rampant in the group, and then they use that to kind of scare people into, well, you must pay someone that's on the inside that knows how things work. I've talked to countless people that have fallen victim to this, and it's really sad as an expat to see other expats taking advantage of people like this. Look, I'm not knocking anyone trying to operate a business, but you need to do it with transparency. You need to be upfront and say, hey, we offer services. Here is the service provider. Here is how the package works. Don't let someone prey on your unfamiliarity with the process. It is straightforward enough. You can find the resources. You can find the correct people. You can hire an attorney yourself. You don't need a middleman.
Absolutely. I think that brings up a good point about these Facebook groups, is that, they are incredible resources. And we've talked in other videos of ours about how the internet in Albania really isn't, World Wide Web in the same way that it is in America. It runs on Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp. We're not knocking Facebook groups as an incredibly valuable and important source of information, but they can be an incredible source of confusion for you if you are trying to rely on it for information or resources in terms of getting your residency application.
I think something that I heard just last week, again, I was speaking with someone, they were participating in a Facebook group, and they heard that they needed to bring their birth certificate. They heard that they needed to apply for residency within the first 30 days of arrival in Albania. And this person was an American passport holder. Those things are not true. They were at one time, but the laws have changed. So when you're relying on a Facebook group, when you're relying on other expats, they may very well be trying to help you, but their scenario is different than yours. The laws and things do change here regularly. That's why an attorney is important, because you don't want to bother yourself with all of this unnecessary documentation and paperwork that you don't even need. Another example that I've seen frequently, people trying to figure out how to get their apostilled FBI background check in the USA before they come. You can do that, and you can use that in your application, but you don't need to. The U.S. Embassy in Tirana will help with this much more quickly and affordably. There's no need for these sort of extra steps. So if you're being given this kind of information, that's a red flag that the provider you're talking to may not know the current laws. They may not be up to date.
Absolutely. And the laws have changed quite a bit over the last 5 years and are bound to continue to change as Albania is applying to be a member of the EU. So it's important to have a lawyer that's up to date with that. I think the next area to talk about is the one that can be really appealing, especially in the era of ChatGPT, like we mentioned, and for people who like to do things themselves, and that is doing a DIY application, trying to manage the residency application process on your own.
Yeah, this is an area that is sometimes successful. There are people that can do it. But remember, you need to be fairly proficient in Albanian. The government offices are not inclined to help you in English. And I, just a couple of weeks ago, saw someone who very proudly had done the application, had gotten halfway through the process, and then they found out they needed to mail some documents to one of the immigration offices, but they couldn't figure out what office or how to mail the things. They had no idea. They turned to Facebook groups, and that led to people giving them 10 different addresses. What do you do? I mean, mail's kind of confusing here to begin with. You need to make sure you're sending the documents to the right office, or yeah, you may have filled out the application correctly, but if you can't get it to the right people, that didn't do you any good. So you're still halfway through the process looking for support, and you end up paying someone anyway. This is kind of the whole point of this video. Immigration support, a licensed immigration attorney, is very affordable in Albania. there is, in my opinion, no reason not to use one. It's certainly not to save money.
It's certainly not to save time or headache. You're gonna likely need one anyway.
Spend your time speaking with immigration attorneys and find one that you click with, that you feel comfortable with, that will answer your questions, that will provide references. You will find one. You will find a good one. We will link to our immigration attorney who has been hugely helpful to us. He's helped many other people we know. He's happy to provide references. He's very affordable. You don't have to use him. The point of this video is just to make sure you find an attorney.
So let's talk a little bit about that process. What questions do people need to ask when they're hiring or interviewing an immigration attorney?
I would ask how many residency applications they have successfully processed. I mean, make sure they're not fresh out of school and they've done 2. Ask for their Chamber of Lawyers number. Make sure they'll give that to you. You can then go to the Chamber of Lawyers and validate that they are indeed an attorney. I would also ask them for a reference or 2. It never hurts to speak to someone else to see what their experience was like, because we do hear often, hey, I hired this person and it was all great until I paid them and then they stopped answering the phone.
Right.
They're very slow to respond. What do I do? Our immigration attorney, he's responded to text messages at midnight. I mean, this guy is on top of it, and that's what you want. You want someone that's going to be by your side, that's going to help you navigate the process, because things in Albania are not always straightforward. Things do not always work the way that they worked for someone else, and that's really what is important to understand here. You need someone that understands the people, the culture, the systems, and the process so they can help you navigate whatever comes up.
Absolutely. Though, look, there is what is on the letter of the law here in Albania, and then there's the way that the systems actually work. And you need someone that's able to help you navigate a path in between to get what you need. So those are the 5 most common mistakes that we see every single week when meeting with people considering a move to Albania when it comes to immigration. Our advice, we've said it multiple times in this video, but it bears repeating one more time: hire a licensed immigration attorney.
Most of these attorneys will offer some kind of consult with you before you pay them. Sit down with them, make sure you understand your options, how to move forward, what documentation you're going to need, and then engage them and let them do it for you. It is money well spent.
Thank you so much for tuning into this video. We hope you really enjoyed it. Feel free to leave any questions that you have in the comment, or reach out to us or our immigration attorney partner in the links in the description to book a consultation. We would love to hear from you and help you along your journey to living here in Albania.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.